Isn't this a sports show?
Clinton has said, accurately, I might add, on the Facebook page. Almost Entirely Sports, a show where Josh reads all of his tweets, and I have no counter-argument to that. That is true and fair.
Almost entirely.
Excuse me. I'm talent. I'm talent, sir. Unhand me.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
I am Joshua Brisco, Rudy with the reverse slam, Beard with a judgmental gaze. What's up, Beard? How you doing? I'm here.
Take the show with you by listening on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app at 810WHB.com or by searching for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
Is this the most important thing I could be talking about? Well, I mean, probably not. Debatable.
This is Almost Entirely Sports on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I was going to say that I'm not 100% sure where we're going to start the show today and where we're going to navigate for this first hour for a whole variety of pretty obvious reasons. And then, right before I was going to say that, I got a slight hiccup. And right now, I'm just kind of doing the thing where you try to freeze your diaphragm in place to avoid the hiccups from stacking atop each other, because that would be an extremely unfortunate way for today's show to begin. Really, for any show to ever go, I would not wish the live radio hiccups on my worst radio enemies, of which there are many. It's everyone who's not me, including Beards and Rudy, which honestly, once you understand that, really explains the dynamic that we occasionally dip into, where we're all just rivals with each other. We needle Beards about Cyberpunk. Jamal Murray gets hurt. Eventually Devin Booker's sons are going to disappoint me. Do you know he has sons? That's just the whole vibe. That's just the whole way this show functions, I think. It's a very hostile work environment around here sometimes. That's mostly not true. So here's, I think it's always reasonable for me to start any sentence like this with "I think," because it sounds like I'm in control of it, and I'm not going to be. I think we're mostly going to talk like NFL draft, and then maybe I still need help understanding the Super League. That I thought
there's no Super League.
Yesterday, I thought we would eventually talk about the Super League, but if we didn't get to it, we would get to it today.
Never existed.
Then today it gets to the point where we're now talking about the Super League in past tense.
Maybe the real Super League was the super friends we made along the way.
You stole that from Twitter?
No, I thought of that on my own.
More like super enemies.
More like
people are not happy.
Super Twitter. Because I definitely saw that tweet on Twitter. Beards. And it wasn't from you. We'll talk about all of that. I've got some very sort of hyper-specific things I think will intrigue this show. I want to make fun of Chris Sims. I want to play some Chiefs audio that we didn't get to yesterday. There's a bunch of just sort of little nonsense things that we'll talk about today that I think will be fun. And also, like, there is a genuinely massive story at the forefronts of all things across the world right now that has obviously been intertwined within the sports world with the conviction on all three charges against Derek Chauvin, who killed George Floyd and sparked all of the various racial justice movements we saw over the course of this summer. Really last summer, I guess. And it's been going on now for, this sort of version of it has essentially been kind of rejuvenated over the course of this last year or so, with that being kind of the inciting incident. Plenty of others that could have done it, but in terms of grasping the nation and the world, and also the sports world, that's the inciting incident for what ended up following the Black Lives Matter movement, and honestly how it changed in terms of how America saw it, which is extremely interesting and personally, if I may, I think has been for the better and will hopefully continue to be creating positive changes. I also am not going to go through the conviction like a box score today, because that's even above my head. And what I really want to do is find some amount of solace in, there being being consequences for a murder, which I think is probably, we've agreed as a society, something we generally want to have happen. And I want to hope that the people who are going through the most distress and sadness over the course of this day, this week, these months, this year, are getting some amount of peace or closure or hope today. Also acknowledging that it's by no means some grand. This is not some grand celebration, I don't think, for pretty much anybody, because every step of it continues to be sad and frustrating. And also, I really want to make fun of the Raiders. But it's all difficult and complicated and heavy, and we've done a lot of that over the last year or so. I will say we haven't seen or heard anything from the Chiefs or the Royals in terms of like a statement. You might say, Josh, do they have to put out a statement? No, but lots of teams have. The Broncos put out one that I thought was, all things considered, pretty good. And then the Raiders put out one that just said, "I can breathe," in the Raiders font, and then underneath it had today's date, which happens to be 4/20, which, if you don't know, that is also the weed number. So it says, "I can breathe 4-20-21." And literally, it's been, I guess, I'm imagining it's still up. I should double check.
It is.
Oh, boy.
Is this going to be the next isgrudengonyet.com?
Is this tweet still up? Right now, it has 14,000 likes, 19,000 responses, and 46,500 retweets or quote tweets. And Twitter around that right now has been something. And while I think there are a number of times when I kind of wish that our local franchises in the area would have been on the forefront of some more of the movements and not just letting the players be the ones that dictate that, but putting their support up behind them sort of almost proactively. I also do think there's something to be said for not just putting out a tweet with 3 words in the date and a Raiders logo at the bottom whenever you really don't have anything to say. You don't have to work that hard to say it, which I think is also probably going to be where we wind up tonight, where I don't know if I have anything else to say. I might circle back on one other thing in a second. But I don't know. Like, clearly, for sure, a couple of white people high-fived immediately after putting that tweet out on the Raiders social media. Like, that's non-negotiable.
I think it was probably more of a fist bump.
I don't. I think it was a crisp high five where they matched elbows.
I think the moment, they would probably know that the moment, hey, it's like, this is not a high five moment. This is like, hey, a fist bump, like we made the world a better place moment.
You know what? Fair enough. And then the credits start rolling and the music plays.
Yep.
And yeah, all right, fair enough.
Like, we just made the world is a better place today because of us.
Because we use our platform to say, I get nothing really.
Good job,
but
guys.
kind of something.
Just like little, and you know what? Maybe a little round of applause. You know, like when a spaceship successfully lands. She's like, "Good job, guys. We did it." Or you draft that guy in the first round, after your pick, "Good job, guys. We did it."
I think that's pretty good, actually. I think that's probably, there's a war room for the social media team.
Now, 2 guys within the process of clapping definitely, stopped and fist bumped in the process of the clapping. But it starts off as a clap. 2 guys fist bump. One of them does the explosion with the hands, like after you do the fist bump. I think that's how that scene went down.
I can't remember exactly. If anyone is questioning now, why is this bad? I think most people probably can. I think you get a little bit of a, ooh, no, that's not it kind of filter. But some people don't necessarily have that. I saw somebody on Twitter was basically asked that question, and they responded with something along the lines of, like, you can be supportive and encouraging and kind of alongside what you think is right without it being performative and self-congratulatory and kind of stuffy. and also kind of weirdly, I don't know, man, kind of weirdly like deprecating. I know that usually goes with the word self, but so this isn't self-deprecating. It's just sort of, it's kind of corny. I don't know, man. It's a tough. The first time I saw it, I thought that's probably not real, right? And then I found that it was real. Here's the real stinker on this one. Not only is that tweet still up after like 90 minutes, that is still their pinned tweet. That is their pinned tweet. Not a good look. No, I mean, and just not a good tweet. I don't know. Eventually
Double
they're
down.
going to, I mean,
guess it's just double down, I guess, it's just
they're going to unpin it just to repin it. They're going to tweet it again in a different
Retweet it.
font. Comic Sans or something.
if tomorrow morning if they just like retweeted that tweet, whew,
would be powerful. Tomorrow they do it again. They just change it from 42021 to 42121. They just tweet that
or
out
it's
every
just,
day.
It's a quote tweet, hashtag never forget.
Man, it's tough, dude. Here's the one other thing, I guess. And I think this is going to go to a story that's outrageously sad and is going to make everybody's day worse. I also just tweeted about it, so if you want to read the story, it's up on my Twitter account. The reason that tweet from the Raiders saying "I can breathe" is immediately I'll listen, man. I'll take a chuckle where we can get it, and right now we're taking it at the Raiders' expense. But there's also a serious reason that doesn't track right now. There is a story that I saw a few minutes before the show. And in Columbus is a story from the Daily Beast. You can see it there. I haven't looked to find it other places yet. But from the Daily Beast, the story is that police shot and killed Micaiah Bryant, a 15-year-old black girl in Columbus, Ohio, just as the verdict was being read in the Derek Chauvin murder trial. And the snippet from that says, according to Bryant, Micaiah called the police because someone in her house was abusing her. She went on to say that police saw a knife on the ground near Micaiah and shot the teenager 4 times. And you go, wow, Josh, that really was a very dark, very serious turn. Why did you have to do that from the Raiders' bad tweet? It really puts a bad taste in my mouth to go sort of celebratory this way today. Because I think you can be glad that, I guess if this is your opinion on it, that accountability came from the George Floyd tragedy, which it still is. He's still dead. This police officer is going to go to prison for a very long time. Like there's not really a happy, there's no fairy tale anywhere in this, right? But on the larger picture here, Chauvin was on trial today, not tragic police shootings or police brutality or systemic racism or whatever. It kind of felt that way at some points because George Floyd became over time sort of an avatar for the larger conversations we were being confronted with over the course of the last year or so, bringing that into a kind of a new, having sort of a new civil rights movement, conversation, whatever, over this last year and change. But putting a guy in prison for a killing that we all saw on tape for nearly 10 minutes isn't a jumping off point for for what will ultimately be a very memeable tweet.
So Tashawn Reid, who covers the Raiders for The Athletic, has tweeted that owner Mark Davis said the "I can breathe" wording came from George Floyd's brother, Philinese, who said, "Today we are able to breathe again." Davis added, "If I offended the family, then I'm deeply, deeply disappointed." He also said the post won't be deleted.
That's fine. I think if, again, there's a lot better to be outraged by.
Yeah. It's not the worst thing.
That's good context.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I saw the tweet pop up, and it's again like here's the thing: is it's the worst thing that happened today? Not at all.
No.
No.
But
have worse things been tweeted today?
absolutely. Yeah, a lot.
The Mark Davis doubling down. Hey, like and like there's so like he explains the thought process, right? And there's a little bit of like yes, the family can
They can say and they can say that, and if you want to put a statement and quote, that's fine.
Yeah. It's like and then being like, hey, we apologize if we offended anybody. Okay.
Yeah,
we're not going to take the tweet down.
Yeah, you could just put out you could still take the tweet down and then put that out in a statement and say, hey, here's where our head was at. The Raiders will get dunked on, and that will move on, and that will all be fine. Yeah. Especially if Mark Davis was involved in that, I hope whatever social media intern that has been wanting to delete that tweet for an hour and a half, I hope they have a perfectly fine.
Mark Davis actually changed the password.
That also might make sense.
He only has it.
It's still really it's a tough. Tashawn Reid, who tweeted that out, it also has a series of tweets from the last hour and change. Oh no! Do you remember the Florida State tweet from Martin Luther King Jr. Day, 2019?
Vaguely.
I
just clicked on it, so I'm pulling it up now.
It says it was from Seminoles Recruiting. Happy MLK Day, and then a big graphic. It says do something with Martin Luther King, like putting his hand out, like waving. They photoshopped a Florida State Nike glove onto his hand. And like it's got a quote and every again,
not the worst thing that was tweeted that day, I'm sure, but like
no,
it's just like
you think that their heart was probably in the right place
for sure,
but also you don't really have to brand watermark your statement about police brutality or your quoting of Martin Luther King Jr. Not everything needs
the
immaculate branding.
The thing that always gets me with that is, and in some of these cases that I think like working in college athletics is a lot different than professional athletics.
Sure.
Working in college athletics when I was young in college, learning like how few people actually see what goes into tweets. Like a lot of times it is just a single person. And a single person is sending out tweets, and it's not like this goes through multiple people. I feel pretty confident that not just one person was involved with the Raiders tweet, just like I'm pretty confident not just one person was involved with the Florida State tweet, because in general,
somebody had to Photoshop
those are bigger, bigger, you know what I mean? It's not like,
and
it's just moments too, right? It's not like, hey, we won 28-17, yay. Like nobody needs to really double check that, right? Like you don't have to go up the ladder on the, hey, can I tweet this? Can I tweet the final score? No, just like the person in charge does that.
Today I tweeted out that we were going to talk to Seth tonight, which you will in about 40 minutes, about his tackle rankings. And then I imagine Allie retweeted it from the 810 account. Yeah. No, she didn't have to go get permission on that front.
There's no communication.
No.
I feel pretty confident in this. At least
somebody had to see it.
Talked about this.
Somebody had to see
ahead of time. Like knowing that. Because honestly, here's the thing. They probably started planning this out a couple days ago, I would think. Like, hey, we think the verdict, or honestly, maybe even longer. Like, when the verdict comes,
I don't think there was a lot of thought behind it. On this one, on some of the teams that put out statements, maybe. On that Raiders one, I don't know.
Here's the thing. My point being, that's the thing that surprised me is I think multiple people thought about this and thought it was a good idea.
That's fair.
And like that's the part that always is like the biggest surprise. It's not one person, right? Because we all have bad ideas, but it's then multiple people in a department being like, you know what?
Somebody needs.
This is good.
Because
this is good.
It's such a good point, Rudy.
Run with this.
Everybody has bad ideas.
Yeah.
Everybody has bad ideas.
I've had plenty.
What you need is not that you have to never have a bad idea. But you need someone around you to say, hey, I think this one's a bad idea. You got to have somebody honest. You have to have somebody, and if it was Mark Davis, who's going to tell Mark Davis think that tweet's a bad idea? I don't know. But I appreciate that the Raiders ended up sort of accidentally giving us some fodder for the group chat, to take a chuckle where you could get it because it's just pretty tone deaf, but it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of very bad happening all at once.
And not to completely change subject or anything, but I just have to inform you of more news. Beards is checked out for at least 15 minutes because somebody has asked him if there's a worse things tweeted Reddit. Beard says he will be doing an investigation, so he is done for a while. Just want to let you know. In case you're planning on tossing the audio or anything.
I did book my head into the Raiders subreddit real quick just to see if anybody had discussed this
yeah,
tweet.
sure.
Yeah. They did.
Yeah, I
and of course,
imagine.
it's about the same thing that we're talking about now.
It's just tough, man. It's just a tough look. It's a tough execution. I don't know. Happy 420 Raiders Twitter account, intern. At least you're probably making the most of it. It's tough. Yeah, I don't.
Also, this just got pointed out on the Raiders Reddit, and I saw this earlier as well. Another thing that might make this extremely tone deaf is the "I can breathe" was also the pro-Chauvin message and T-shirts that were going out.
That I think that even came up around Eric Gardner. I think that people because that's where the "I can't breathe" shirt sort of started. Was Eric Gardner, and you're right. There were counter protest shirts that said "I can breathe" in the same Comic Sans, but sort of like tongue in cheek, like sarcastically. So also not great. Yeah, also not good. There's one other thing that I was going to mention, and then figured that we'd move on to something, just anything else, because I don't know. Oh, it was that I mentioned that that the Chiefs haven't put anything out, but very shortly after the verdict came down, Patrick Mahomes just tweeted out prayer hand emojis. And I think Tyrann Mathieu was like a heart and prayer hand emoji. There were a lot of emojis that did pop up at some point from various Chiefs players, but the Chiefs themselves did not make a statement, though a lot of NFL teams have at this point. Again, at this point, man, I don't know that I've got room for my frustrated, disappointed energy to go at the Chiefs for not having something to say here, especially after we just spent a good 10 minutes dunking on the Raiders for doing it poorly. I would love for the Chiefs to come out and do it expertly, but pretty universally across sort of social issues, the Chiefs would like to be the 16th team to put out something when they know that everyone else is on the way. I think that was around, I think it might have been like at the time of George Floyd being killed, like in that week thereafter. There may have been something about voting rights as well, where like a lot of teams are putting out statements, and then eventually the Chiefs did. I don't think it's unfair at all to say that they, from a PR standpoint, do not want to be leaders, and they do not want to be seen as followers, but that does mean following after it gets kind of cleared out in the front. So,
which like might be, from a purely
from
business,
a PR strategy,
like, probably the right call.
Sure.
Obviously, you would like again, and maybe maybe it's a case of letting the players kind of lead the front, but my guess is that's
willing to
kind
do that.
and at the very least, my guess is that's kind of what they'll fall behind at the very least. In terms of, hey, we let our players, like, we don't necessarily be the first out send statement because our players are out there sending statements.
The thing about that is that it is sort of using your players as a bit of a meat shield, and also, with the exception of Patrick Mahomes, almost no players in football have more power than their team does.
Yes.
Patrick Mahomes essentially has as much power as the Chiefs do because that is a mutually locked-in relationship there. But, I think actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Juan Thornhill was one of the first people that I saw tweet, one of the first Chiefs players that I saw tweet after the verdict came down. If Juan Thornhill tweeted out something the Chiefs really didn't like, Juan Thornhill's tweet would come down. And in reality, and again, throughout like all of the voting rights stuff, the Chiefs essentially let Mahomes and Mathieu on the Black Lives Matter video and on the voting rights stuff. The Chiefs let those guys lead, and they did follow with a decent amount of support. I don't think, again, I'm not like reaching for a roast here or anything, but I also wouldn't hate it for Clark Hunt to put out a statement with his name on it that has some sort of strength behind it. But he's not going to. I don't expect him to. Because we got a decent feel on that, right? Like everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Speaking on what Beards mentioned earlier, but Raiders Reddit, Reid has now also tweeted that Davis said that he wasn't aware that the NYPD supporters wore I Can Breathe shirts following the 2014 killing of Eric Gardner. After I brought that up to him, he said, I learned something. I have to do a little bit more research into that just so I can speak coherently on that aspect.
True.
More from Davis. Let me say this right off the bat. I was not aware of that. Absolutely not. I had no idea that that's a situation that I was not aware of. I can see where there could be some negativity towards what I said based on that.
Totally. I believe that he didn't know about that. I believe that he is going to go learn about that. Also, it's still their pinned tweet. So
He did say he wasn't going to take it down.
it's just still their pin tweet is all. That's just sort of, I think, for me, it is still their pin tweet. In case anybody was wondering. All right, we'll take a break. Unless something else happens, I think that's what we've got for today on the Chauvin trial, on the Raiders' bad tweet, on where the Chiefs are at, on all of those. I think that's what I got today. Something else pops up. I guess I'll turn back on that. But I think that's what we got.
Unless Mark Davis says some more stuff.
Which is totally possible. And if he doesn't, I'm going to, I guess, probably come back and ask Rudy to explain a soccer thing to me. So, and then we're going to do very, very, very serious offensive tackle draft class breakdown with Seth in 30 minutes. So this show, it's the buffet. This is the buffet day of the show. Yeah. We're going to just cover a lot of ground in a lot of different places. And eventually, I don't know if you can see it on the video feed, but we got a big brown box that we're going to open. And once that time actually gets here, it is a big, heavy box. Once that time actually gets here, it's going to make today's show even more ridiculous and make all of this even more awkward. It's gonna, it's just, that's, you'll, if you're still around in 2 hours, around in an hour, you'll see. But there's that. If you want to go read that story I talked about earlier, I retweeted it a little bit ago. It sucks. It's heartbreaking. Bad radio throw. Not a tease, bad radio throw. Awkward segment. That seems right.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page. This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
A genuinely emotional, touching moment completely undercut by the sloppy way we got there.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Couple of things really quickly here. One, a highlighted message on the Twitch chat from Literally Gaming saying, in all seriousness, this is an important conversation. I'm glad you're having it. Thank you. It's a good reference. Made me laugh. Also, from Literally Gaming, bet there's a lot of top shots in this box. Not true.
I wish.
Not true. This box is, in fact, fungible. We'll open that later. So, yeah, there's all that. Also, there's a Facebook comment, which is always a phrase. I apologize if this is going to sideswipe people who watch the show on Facebook. Most of the people that you watch on Facebook have great observations and comments, and I love that you're here listening to the show. Thank you for being here. But sometimes during a break, whenever Beard says in my off air, he says there's a Facebook comment, I just sort of assume the worst sometimes because often the internet is the worst.
Feel the soul just shrink a little.
Yeah, but Beards, who had the comment that you read a second ago?
It was
just first
JD.
name is fine. JD. JD said what?
What's in the bucket in front of Rudy?
It just made me. It was just I got whiplash from the.
I don't know
chuckle
if there's
of that.
technically anything. Well, there's a paper towel. Some dirt.
It's a rain bucket.
It's a rain bucket.
It's a rain bucket.
Yeah. Sometimes when it rains,
It pours
a lot.
It rains in the studio.
Exactly.
Sometimes
And this
cats
is
and
a
dogs just fall
spot
into the studio and they go to that bucket.
Where it sometimes rains. Now, I normally just have a very just like a cup, like a red
Little
Solo
styrofoam cup, red Solo
And then
cup,
we put a
whatever.
mic next to it and
And-
turn it up.
Yeah,
Right.
but also, because it blends in a little bit better, right? Nobody just notices the random cup. But somebody, maybe 2 weeks ago when it was
It's been
pouring.
that's been there for a month, I think.
I don't know if it's been quite that long, but
We could
point
check the
being,
tape, but yeah, go ahead.
That's true. It's been a while, but at least a couple weeks when it was just pouring. When we got that big storm during the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Somebody just picked up the bucket or found the bucket. I don't know if it's been underneath the table all the time. I don't know where it's been. Found the bucket, put it there,
Probably in the rack room.
and now the bucket just kind of lives here.
I would like to take this segment to just everyone's gonna take a little breath. We're all gonna relax a little bit, and we're gonna do something that we can all do unified together. Okay? Beards, actually, I'm changing my mind. I'm gonna go 2-1-3 on this list, and I got some audio here from Chris Sims. Now, Chris Sims has gotten a lot of flack from a lot of people for a lot of different things, and some of it is, I think some of it's fair. I think some of it is overreacting in terms of sort of the hypercritical culture that is spawned and exists through the internet. But a couple days ago, this clip made the rounds of Chris Sims having a tough time on a name of a player you might know.
Sign Joe Tooney. That's great. They do have a Kyle Long coming back. That could help out. Tardy Deriff. How the hell do you say his last name?
Now listen,
That's Dr. Tardy Dare for you.
Tardy Deriff.
have I mispronunciated some names? Of course.
Mhm.
Did I trip over a name during baseball earlier tonight, reading
Probably.
the Rays lineup? You're damn right I did.
I didn't know his name was LTD.
Did you do that on purpose?
Yes.
Okay.
Tardy
Oh, Tardy
Deriff.
Deriff. All right, good point. Yeah, all right, fair enough, Beards. Good call. I've missed some names, right?
Yeah.
But at one point last year, Tardy Deriff was the biggest name in the sport for like a news cycle. Because he was the first guy to opt out. He was opting out to go fight the COVID pandemic. Everybody was talking about Dr. Tardy Deriff.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear it again, Beards?
Tardy Deriff.
We all screw up names. I didn't even play that at the time because, Pobody's nerfed. Including Crim Sis. Crim Sims.
Tardy Deriff.
Pobody's nerfed. But then these two clips came. And these two clips fill my heart with joy and happiness and joy and sadness and joy. In that order. We're going to get 2 clips here. One is Chris Sims. This is in the same show. I believe it may have been in the same segment
It looks
of
like
Pro
it's the same
Football
show.
Talk. They're wearing the same clothes. It's definitely the same show. I believe this is all around a conversation in the Philadelphia Eagles front office about analytics. And I don't know how they got to the one you'll hear in point 3. But these next 2 clips, all on the same show. And Chris Sims had some thoughts about analytics that I just think is really going to advance our conversations.
And we never hear when the analytics were proven wrong. That's the other thing, too. Hey, you didn't make the right decision. It didn't work out. The analytics said you should have done this. How about the analytics said they should have done this, and I did that, and it worked out? How about we never hear about that side of the story? But, I mean, come on. I get sick of the analytics discussion sometimes. I don't even know where I'm going with it. I'm sorry.
Beards, how quickly can you find the video of that kid talking about his dream?
Oh, I think I have that saved in my
It's in
folder.
the system
I think I
somewhere.
have it saved.
Because I remember crossing it with something. Hopefully you don't have that version, but if that's the only version you have, you know what? I'll take it. Because that's who Chris Sims turned into there. Let me say a couple things really quick as a serious, actual counterpoint. One, whenever the analytics, quote unquote, whatever that means, whenever the analytics say to do something and they do the thing and it doesn't work, that's the only thing that's on radio the next day. If on Monday Night Football, if somebody comes out and says, I went for 2 because the analytics had to go for 2 and they didn't get the 2, that coach, we're trying to fire that coach on Pro Football Talk Radio the next day. So that's total nonsense. Total straw man. Total nonsense. The other thing, though, is that he doesn't understand what analytics means or how they work. Because here's the thing, Rudy. I'm going to ask you to not do a bit. I'm going to ask you to just be a good straight man here. I'm just going to ask you to answer this question the way that logically makes the most sense to you.
Okay.
Okay? You got
Yes.
2 doors in front of you. Okay?
Bottom one.
You got 2 doors in front of you. Beards, you've got 2 doors in front of you,
No,
okay?
I'll
turn
be
off his
it.
mic.
Which one has the tiger?
All right, back to Rudy. Rudy, you have 2 doors in front of you.
Yeah.
Door number 1.
Yep.
There is a 75% chance if you go through that door, on the other side of that door is $1 million that belong to you.
Mm-hmm.
Door number 2, go through there, 25% chance there's $1 million that belongs to you. Which door are you going to go through?
Trick question.
Nope.
Left door number 1. I almost said left door, but I don't actually know what if it's left or right.
You're going to go through door number 1.
door number 1.
Now, is this a gross oversimplification? Sure, because there's a lot of stuff that analytics does successfully account for, and there are some things that it's very difficult to account for. It's also silly to think that actually just that your gut is going to do the proper calculations for that at the time, but whatever. Analytics means doing the thing that's going to get you success more often.
Yeah.
More often doesn't mean 100% of the time. Like, if you're having an analytics conversation within that headspace, you are waving a white flag saying you simply do not understand how this works and you don't care to understand how this works, you don't want to understand how this works, and it's all for nerds. That is the stance you're taking if you go, well, but sometimes the analytics don't work. Yeah, that's right. What are we, have you guys ever played Settlers of Catan?
No.
Yes.
It's a great board game.
It's very good.
Let's get vaccinated and you guys come over. Let's play Settlers of Catan.
Sure. Been a long time, but I'll play.
You've
Have
got
you
these
played
little.
Sorry before.
I have.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You get these little. You turn off both your mics. You get the little discs, and so the point of what is that face for? Can it wait?
Yeah.
You get little discs that have varying number combinations. You want to build by 6s and 8s because there are more ways that 2 6-sided die can make a 6 or an 8 than any number other than 7, which is not a part of the game because that's what moves the robber. We're getting kind of off track. You want to build on 6s and 6s and 8s, and then if you can't, outside of that, probably 5s and 9s, 4s and 10s, because there's only one way to roll a 2. There's only one way to roll a 12. Lots of ways that you can roll 6, 7, 8. If you build on a cluster of 6s and 8s and you don't win the game, it's not because the math wasn't right. It's just that that's your bet. That's the smartest place for you to build. If you build on a bunch of 11s and 12s right out of the gate, This is the nerdiest analogy I've ever brought to sports talk radio. If you build on a 10, 11, and a 12 little cluster, and that's where you start, and you win the game, that does not mean you did the math right. It doesn't mean you built in the best spots strategically. You got lucky or you got unlucky. You placed your bets where you were supposed to, and it either did or didn't work out at approximately the percentage chances that you knew going into it. It's just not that hard. And so whenever you hear this, bring it to me one more time, Beards, and then we'll go back to we'll play the little kid with the dream. Whenever you hear this sort of analysis, this means I don't really know what I'm talking about, and I don't particularly care to get better at talking about it.
And we never hear when the analytics were proven wrong. That's the other thing, too. Hey, you didn't make the right decision. It didn't work out. The analytics said you should have done this. How about the analytics said they should have done this, and I did that, and it worked out? How about we never hear about that side of the story? But, I mean, come on. I get sick of the analytics discussion sometimes. I don't even know where I'm going with it. I'm sorry.
What if I go through door number 2, and there's the $1 million? We'll take that, analytics. All right, Beards, play it one more time.
Have you ever had a dream that you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
Tardy Darif.
Goes on so long.
Tardy Darif.
Beards, I'll give you the commercial break to do this. I want to play the third clip, and then I would love to just get a little mixology of those two clips. I'll let you figure. You get a whole commercial break to figure that out. But before we take a break, I do want to give Chris Sims one absolutely massive W here. The first voice you're going to hear here is Mike Florio, and the last voice you're going to hear is Chris Sims, and this clip absolutely bangs.
I don't want to get into a rant here about these long reads, but folks, nobody reads all of them. No one is reading all of them. Not even the mothers of the writers are reading every single word. I don't know why there's all the fluff and all the filler and why it has to be this grandiose, sweeping thing to get people to take it seriously. We take it seriously based on what's in it, not how many words are in it. Am I wrong, Chris?
No, I mean, listen, I'm with you. I mean, it's just, didn't you just write a book, though?
Come on, man!
Got him.
How good is that?
Got him.
Nobody's reading all these long reads. You got these long reads. You got so many words. I care what the words that's in the read, and not how many words is in the read. Chris, don't you agree? Buy my book. Oh. Anyway, I did it all in that order because I wanted to make fun of Chris Sims and then completely wash away his sins with the absolute devastation that is. Yeah, I agree, but didn't you just write a book though? So anyway,
It was a good day at the office for him.
it really was. Don't buy Mike Florio's book.
At JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, at Not That Rudy, at Sports Radio 810. Just do it already. This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Give me both of them back to back. Give me your audience and your critic score for Paul Bart Mall Cop.
Audience 100%, critics 99.
Beards.
It's a masterpiece.
Paul Bart Markov 1.
Well, how did you phrase it?
That's how.
All the letters were there. The order was just absolutely unsalvageable.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
There's a Twitch comment here that really hit me the same way that I think it hit, let's see, who was it that said it? The Human Torch. Human Torch on Twitch, saying Chris Sims was hilarious when he was on Le Batard counting down his top 70 quarterbacks. Because at one point, he said, correctly, that Blake Bortles was like the 70th best quarterback in the NFL. And so he basically called in, or they called him like basically every day for months. So he could, one ranking at a time, say who each quarterback was that was better than Blake Bortles. It was a great bit, and he was correct. It's just, I don't know. That was the version of Chris Sims that I knew, and then he started doing radio with Florio.
Now, my question is how do we think he made this list? Was it just strictly film? Was he using some analytics?
Great question.
Because, honestly, I think now I need to know how that list was put together.
Great question.
Thank you.
Do you want to tell the world what it was that made you do a stank face during the last segment?
Yeah, so the Pro Football Talk, if you've ever heard of them.
Yeah, I don't believe I have.
Had basically a tweet that Adrian Peterson is looking for a contender, wants to go get a ring, he's obviously towards the end of his career, wants a ring. Tyrann Mathieu simply responded, he should come to Kansas City.
I think that's the appropriate sound.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If he signed for, a veteran minimum deal, it's not it's the worst thing in the world or anything.
Sure.
But it's just also and that's also a Royals. I just watched somebody just hit a baseball off the wall. So there was a couple things there.
Lots of
A lot of, yeah.
I'll give you a serious Adrian Peterson take. Beards, can I get a shot clock real fast? Can I get 24 seconds on Adrian? I know
you can.
I know you're spending a lot of plates back there. Hit it. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It wouldn't be very much money. Is he better than Darrell Williams right now? I don't know. I don't think he's a better pass catcher at this point, better pass blocker on third down. I think I'd probably rather have Darrell Williams just in a vacuum like that. But also, it would probably be fine. What would be hilarious would be for him to get here, look really good behind the new interior offensive line, all of a sudden running backs. Oh, wait, hold on. Do they matter or not? Now I'm confused because Adrian Peterson's looking good running behind Joe Tooney. He was on the scrap heap. Also, the Chiefs have done that for veteran running backs now 2 years in a row.
1 out of 10.
Signing Adrian Peterson?
Yeah, what's your review? Out of 10.
The idea of signing Adrian Peterson, or if they did sign Adrian Peterson?
Yes.
We really need to respect the shot clock process.
I feel like I did okay on that one.
It's still going on.
Well, I forgot about the ranking or the rating. That part's true.
You can give your rating after the buzzer goes off. It's fine. Ball's in the air.
2 minutes after?
I don't. My question. What am I rating though, Beards? Am I rating the Chiefs signing?
Just struggling to get a rebound, just keeps tapping it up and down to himself?
Am I? You gotta look at your iPad already.
Oh god.
You gotta look at your iPad really quick.
I'm a little far behind, so.
Maybe am I rating the conversation about Adrian Peterson on the show tonight, or am I rating the Chiefs signing Adrian Peterson, or is it the likelihood of them signing Adrian Peterson?
Not the likelihood. Everything else.
Oh boy.
Okay, 7 out of 10, 4 out of 10.
I love this Royals
2 out of
defense.
10. I did all 3.
Cool. This Royals defense is.
Rudy, you said that word, and I just heard static.
This Royals defense
nope,
is
static.
something.
I just hear whenever you say that team name that starts with an R, it's like the Washington football team now. It's like that word. That word's out of my vocabulary. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, not Washington football team, but what the Washington football team used to be named.
Correct.
Yeah.
Beards, did you come up with something for Chris Sims and the kid who has a dream?
Just a little bit. I didn't have too much time.
You had like 4 minutes.
Well, I like it when he starts to talk, but he realizes his mic isn't on.
you could hear that, couldn't you?
Yep.
Hit it, Beards.
And we never hear when the analytics were proven wrong. That's the other thing, too. Hey, you didn't make the right decision. It didn't work out. The analytics said
you
should have done this. How about the analytics said
that
they should have done this, and I did that, and it worked out. How about we never hear about that side of the story? But, I mean, come on. I get sick of the analytics discussion sometimes. I don't even know where I'm going with it. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I would have liked some more of the kid at the very end, just tacking it on.
Though. It's good.
It was hard to find some of those clips to fit in.
Can
with what Chris Sims was saying there.
babbling kid just take us into the break? I'll talk over him. Just give me the babbling kid for the last 15 seconds of this segment.
Had dreams that
Seth Keysor will be on
you,
next.
You had,
Wait, why is Seth on now?
We'll talk about his tackle prospect reviews. He's got 6 of them. You guys like Tevin Jenkins? Oh, baby. Do you like Tevin Jenkins?
To do you so much you could do anything.
Seth Keysor is next.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sports Radio 810 WHB, Kansas City.
Now it's time for very serious football talk with the man who met his wife on a blind date, chaperoned by his parents.
They actually came along on the first date with us. That was I rode in the back seat. I was 22.
The man who needs to take a minute to remember the names of all of his children.
Do all of your kids have the same first letter?
No, actually. Let me think. Do any of them? Tucker, Mason, Cole, Isabel, and Lucas.
The man who can defend you in court, but will probably choose not to.
I'll cop to this on a public setting right now. I am an aggressive cuddler in a consensual sense.
Comma, officer.
Good grief, he's a pastor too? When does this guy sleep?
You will find Seth Keysor everywhere except for in his or your bed, because not only does he not sleep, he's also a faithful husband. So that's important.
It's Seth Keysor of The Athletic on Almost Entirely Sports.
Throughout some of our conversations over the last several weeks, really the last couple of months with Seth Keysor, this has been, wait for it, a tough issue, wait for it, to tackle. Seth has written about the offensive tackles in this draft class, everybody. He did it. And so we're going to talk about it. You got, tackle, like the position, and also the sport, and also the difficult issue for the Chiefs. You guys get it. Seth Keysor, the Chief of the North newsletter, The Athletic, the Times Ours podcast on Twitter at RealMN Chiefs fan. Seth, you didn't laugh at my joke, Seth.
I clapped politely. I don't know what more you want from me, Josh. I try to be a good friend, and at times I just I let your words speak for themselves. It was I didn't want to step on your moment there.
Yeah, that's what it was. That was my moment. Yeah.
It's all been leading up to this. And you're right, tackle can and does. I'm amazed you didn't go into, how it's also bait for fish. Like, you could, there was a missed opportunity there, but I'll give you a solid 8 out of 10.
There's been this whole offseason, there's been a disturbance in the Schwartz. That's another one.
Mitch Schwartz, who, by the way, is a absolute best case scenario. Man, that was a long pause for radio. Sorry about that. That was he's an absolute best case scenario comparison for one of the people we're going to be talking about today. One of the tackles we're going to be tackling as we tackle the difficult tackles of the off tackle.
Perfect. I'm here. Yep, we've nailed it. This is really good. This is a good segment of radio that we've done already. I feel like this is probably already getting cut up for the Marconis, and I mean, at this point, I feel like we're pretty much a shoe-in. I don't know if they'll give us multiple trophies or just one that we can cut in half, but I think I'll cut it horizontally so we can each get, you can put up against a wall or something and it'll look like a whole one. That'll be my plan for our Marconis.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Before we talk about what the new series up on the Chief of the North newsletter, and man, listen, I don't know if you're not pulling the trigger on the Chief of the North newsletter at this point still, you're probably never gonna, but I'll just remind you, maybe you're new to the show, I'll give you this, okay? You can subscribe to the Chief of the North newsletter for an impossibly, embarrassingly low price, which is what? How much is it, Seth? One more time. How much?
It's $12 a year.
God, it's so fresh. It's $1 a month.
It's $1 a month. Yes, and so that's the permanent. It's supposed to just be a coupon / discount, and I've just kept it going. Now, some people have subscribed for the full price, which is $30 a year, but I just keep it at 60% off. And every now and then, I'll just randomly DM someone or send them an email giving them 50% off of the 60% off, just saying, hey, here's a link. You can use it if you want. I just do it randomly. It's kind of fun.
It's an amount of money for a year to subscribe to the Chief of the North newsletter. It is an amount of money that if you found in your pocket, you would be happy, but it wouldn't change your day. That's
it might change your lunch plans. $12. Yeah. That might change your lunch plans. Hey, I was going to not eat lunch today, but instead I'll go to McDonald's. Right? That's about as much as it's going to swing you. Or I was going to go to McDonald's, but now I can afford, I guess, a pizza. Because if you already had $10 on you, you can order a pizza for that.
Or for those $12, you could say, you know what, I was gonna have really, really terrible takes about the Chiefs' offensive line all offseason, but now I found this money in my pocket. I'm gonna have good takes about the offensive line. So that's at the Chief of the North newsletter, mnchiefsfan.substack.com or bit.ly/Seth hates money, because that's all true. And you've looked at the first 6 tackles of your review plan. I think you've got 4 still coming.
So I have looked at I've looked at 6 players. I'm looking at 10 more.
So your next one has 4 coming.
My next one has 4 coming. 4 coming. So far I've looked at I'll try to go in order that.
Do you want the list? I got the list, baby. I'm ready for this segment. I've been excited about this segment for like a month now.
So the 6 that I've looked at, and then I'll let you cover the rest. How's that sound? I've looked at Tevin Jenkins, Alex Leatherwood, Samuel Cosme, Christian Darrisaw, Liam Eichenberg, I think. Eichenberg. I'm terrible with names.
That's close.
See, the same criticism that I leveled at Chris Sims. Oh, you don't know how to pronounce the name. So you know what? I'm a hypocrite. I apologize to Chris Sims for making fun of him about not knowing how to pronounce a name. That's on me. As far as the take went, it was a bad take. But he also dunked on Florio, and it was really funny. So that's on me. I officially apologize to Chris Sims. I'm sure he cares deeply what I think. And then Stone Forsyth, which is the greatest name.
Yes, incredible.
So those are the 6 I've covered, but I've got 10 more to go still. And
I don't have the full list, but I will say your next one. You teased Dylan Redun's Penei Sewell, Rashawn Slater, and Elijah Vera Tucker are the next guys up. I was thinking that you were just going to get to 10. I forgot you have another 10 still in the bag. But we're going to talk about Jenkins, Cosme, Darrisaw, Leatherwood, Eichenberg, and Forsyth. Here's what I'll give you, because I know you really tried until you at least got out the breakdown. You tried to avoid sort of the group think that can show up over even the best of draft analysis. You want to come to your own conclusions and whatnot, which I think is going to serve us very well here. But I'll tell you that I think you are going to increase the hype on 2 guys, one that doesn't need even more hype but is going to keep getting it, somebody else who might need a little bit of hype. I think you're a wet blanket on somebody, and I think you got a real surprise in there somewhere that we will talk about what I believe all of those to be in just a minute. But first, I wanted to ask you about some things that Andy Reid said yesterday.
Yes.
He talked quite a bit. He was asked quite a bit in his presser about the left tackle position. At one point, he even referenced the fact that they did bring back Ram and Wiley. And I, would have reminded Andy Reid, if I could have, that last time we saw Ram and Wiley as your starting tackles, it didn't go super duper well. And I don't think he meant that's the plan, but it was a tough pill for me to swallow. Like, I didn't like being reminded of that. But obviously, there were a couple things. One is he mentioned twice, I think, Kyle Long has experience at tackle. The other thing is he said that he mentioned that Lucas Niang at one point, when they had him in for a couple of days last year before he opted out, that they were optimistic about him on the left side. I know we've been pretty high on Lucas Niang, and I've said that I am totally in on Lucas Niang versus Mike Rimmers at right tackle. Loser becomes the swing tackle or maybe ends up kicking to guard or whatever. I'm totally in for that. How would you feel about Lucas Niang at left tackle, Mike Rimmers at right tackle, not even acknowledging the thinness of the position that would be behind those guys if that did pan out?
I wouldn't be terribly bothered by it. I like Lucas Niang. I don't think that's the plan, and I have several reasons for this. I think Niang has good feet. I think he's got good size. I think he really, if I were to look at his college film and compare it to some of the guys that I'm looking at, I think he compares pretty favorably. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely a risk. And by sticking with those 2 guys, and you alluded to this with depth, that becomes problematic. It's one less, if you view it as kind of a dartboard type thing, it's one less dart that you're throwing at the dartboard. Mm-hmm. It's one less talented offensive lineman on the team. I wouldn't be thrilled about it. I think Lucas Niang can play left tackle, though. I think he's got the feet for it. And really, in the modern NFL, and Mitch Schwartz even tweeted about this, that in the modern NFL, the age-old, right tackle versus left tackle, it just doesn't exist for most offenses anymore. You need to be able to pass protect really well, regardless of which side you're on. And so it's just not the same as it used to be, where you had a really good pass protector on the left side, a really good run block on the right side. That's just not the case. I think Niang could play either side, but in every video I've seen him do this offseason, because he's released some YouTube videos with his trainer and stuff, he's setting up as though he's lining up on the right side, every single one of them. Yeah. Like every single stance that I've seen him get into. Now, maybe, they're doing both. I think the plan is for him to compete at right tackle. That's my guess. But it's purely a guess at this point. Who knows what they'll do? I think, though, that it's a risky move, not because Niang lacks talent. and Remmers didn't play well on the right side. But it gives you a natural ceiling with Remmers that you maybe don't want to have at right tackle, right? Whereas with Niang, you've got the idea, well, maybe we could go beyond that ceiling that we had last year. And then again, you're costing yourself an additional talented player. And that's always a bad idea, especially off of an offensive line and with the issues the Chiefs had last year. So, I mean, if they do that, I guess fine, but it's not the route I would go.
The one thing about that I think has me second guessing it, because I got to give a shout out to the Honorable Tucker D. Franklin for asking. I think it may have been like a minute after Trent Williams went back to the 49ers at 4 a.m. or whatever it was, whenever he said, do you think that the plan is to have Mike Remmers and Lucas Niang be at left and right? And maybe it was after they had re-signed Remmers. I can't remember. But I said, no, Tucker, that's not going to be their plan. And now we're here, and if they had to play a football game tomorrow, that is probably what they would do, which isn't, it's April 20th. There's no football game scheduled for tomorrow. But still, the thing that I'm wondering is, and we'll get into this with the guys that you've looked at already, it seemed like I've heard quite a bit that most of these guys in this class, as is probably true for most rookies, right, that they would benefit by not necessarily having to be the one and only option at left tackle, or maybe them having a chance to get their feet under them a little bit would be beneficial.
Right.
Is there a world in which they would take a tackle early and then try to go with, I guess, either Niang or Remmers at the left side instead of bringing in a guy like Russell Okung and then just trying to have that be the backup plan if they do also draft the tackle early? Does that make sense? I don't know if I phrased it.
Yeah. No, I guess I could see it. To me, as many bodies as you get in the room as possible, you got to do it. I think with Niang, it is worth noting he played right tackle all through college.
Yeah.
And not everyone can switch left and right side. Yep. And that's something that both Schwartz brothers have talked about. Jeff Allen's talked about that. Some players can play all over the line. And some players, to quote Jeff Schwartz, it's like wiping with the wrong hand. And that's not easy to do. Yeah. And so it's, especially when you've got a guy who did play for multiple years at one position, it'd be one thing if he played all over the line in college, but he played almost exclusively, at least in the games I saw, at right tackle. And so there's years of muscle memory there. That's tough to do. Now, he's a smooth enough athlete. Maybe he can do it. Maybe he can't. I don't know. But I think with Remmers at left tackle, he doesn't seem nearly as comfortable over there. Yeah. It's not a matter of skill set, like, he's a better run blocker. None of that old school style of thought. It's just he looks way more comfortable at right tackle. So fair enough, right? Mm-hmm. I think if they were to go that route and they brought in a guy, even if they draft a tackle in the first round and a tackle in the second round, which I wouldn't rule out, just on a side note, and we can get into that now that I've gotten a chance to see the depth of this draft already, which, by the way, Chiefs fans, you can rejoice a little bit because I've looked at 6 guys, and I haven't hated any of them. Like, there's not a single guy in the group that of the 6 I've looked at, that if the Chiefs drafted him in the second round, I'd be like, ugh. I mean, there's good players in this draft, and I haven't even looked at the top 2 guys yet, the consensus top 2. Yeah. And there's multiple other guys. I mean, so you could go that route, but even if they went that route, I'd still want them to grab a veteran. I'd still want them to grab Russell Okung. I'd still want them, because you can't have too many bodies up there, and they can't let a repeat of what happened last year happen. Now, can you avoid historic levels of injury? Not really. It's either going to happen or it won't. But you can at least try to have the very best line possible and make it as competitive as possible. And so even if they draft a guy in the first round, and I look at some of these guys, and I think that these are guys you can throw into the fire with the right system, right coaching. Yeah. There's multiple guys that I would be comfortable starting, not necessarily tomorrow. I'd want them to have an off season. Sure. It sure would be nice if they had a couple of preseason games this year. Yep. In those cases, right? And because you want those guys to get some real snaps.
Yeah, for sure.
But there are guys that I'd be comfortable with already in the group that I've looked at. So I think they should get as much depth as possible either way. But I'm comfortable with some of these guys. Just to even before you even get started, I have a massive crush on Tevin Jenkins.
Yeah,
I do. That guy, I think I sent you and Nate when I got done looking at his film. I sent you an emoji with hearts for eyes.
Yes, it was breathless. It was you are absolutely swooning. I would be really surprised if he was there at 31. And I hate to tell you that, and I hate to tell Nate that, because Nate's got the new mock draft out on The Athletic and everything. And it would be, I'll tell you what. Here's something I didn't want to say to you before you started that process. But one thing that I feel like has been borderline unanimous is over the last couple of weeks at least is Chiefs fans saying, and Chiefs analysts and all sorts of saying, if Tevin Jenkins is there at 31, don't overthink it. Just go get him. So talk to me a little bit about Tevin Jenkins and also the specifics of the lengths you would go to add Tevin Jenkins to this line.
So I need to decide, and this is part of the whole process, and you and I talked about this. I'm still in the process of deciding whether I would like trade up to get your guy in this draft. Part of that is going to matter how many guys do I see that I would be okay with them taking in the first round. And how okay would I be with it? You know, what are the tiers here? How many tier 1 guys are there? And how many tier 2 guys are there? How many tier 3 guys are there? And how high are those tiers? What if tier 3 in this draft is a guy that I think could be a solid starter? Yep. Then it's like, I mean, you know, or do you go up and get like a guy you think could be a star? How big is the gap? All those things matter. So I don't know what lengths I'd go to get him yet. But Tevin Jenkins, when I initially, I was like, I'd trade up for this dude. He is, I like him a lot. And he happened to be the first player that I looked at. It was basically by happenstance. And I really am afraid that I just fell in love with the first guy that I watched. Right. Because he's so mean. Like, and I found this out later talking to some of the people that I really trust, reviewing offensive linemen. Like Brandon Thorne is, I mean, he's got his, just a pure in the trenches, I think it's called Trench Warfare Substack, and it's awesome. And he loves Tevin Jenkins. And he was like, you know, this guy, he's like the most violent lineman you're going to watch. And I was like, oh. And because he pancakes at someone at least 5 to 10 times a game. And if you don't think that's a lot, trust me, that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
And I mean, he just buries guys. So there are a bunch of things I like about Jenkins. To start off with, so what I'm doing, I go through each prospect, and I'm looking at their upper body strength, lower body strength, hand fighting, their lateral agility, which is kind of goes in combination with feet and bounce, their awareness, and their athleticism in space. And with Jenkins, you start right off with upper body strength and power. And who I would compare him to, now I'm not saying he's going to be this good, okay? This is comparisons are for the sake of style of play. We're good on that, right? Everyone's hearing me.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know for a fact what you're about to do to me as soon as I say this. His style of play and his style of winning reminds me of Trent Williams. Woo! Because...
Go get him. He's going to be Trent Williams. Thank you, Seth. You know the segment's over.
Because with Trent Williams, people get caught up a lot on athleticism and lateral agility and feet, and that's very important for a tackle. But it becomes less important if you are just always stronger than the other guy. Think Willie Rofe, right? He was nimble for a guy his size, but he wasn't that nimble. Like Will Shields was nimble, right? Brian Waters was nimble. But with Willie Rofe, it didn't matter because he'd get his hands on guys, and they just couldn't go anywhere. Trent Williams is a similar thing. Every time he gets his hands on someone, he is stronger. And you see that with Jenkins. He's got awesome upper body power. It makes him very difficult for defenders to do anything against. He's able to control defenders with one arm at times if they get to half a man and kind of hold them in place while he can reset his hands. He delivers a huge punch that knocks guys backwards. He's tough to get disengaged from in the run game, and he just runs guys over, which brings us to lower body power with him. And we won't go through each thing for each player, but he's my favorite so far, so we might, go here. He's hard to dislodge. He's hard to bull rush. Even if he gets in a bad spot because of some initial pad level or hand placement, he's usually able to dig in and reset before getting bull rushed into the quarterback's lap. And he drives defenders in the run game. I mean, drives them. And, his hand fighting is good. He resets with consistency. But it's tough to say how good he is as a hand fighter because he just doesn't need to that much.
Right.
No one can displace his hands. He's not an incredible athlete, but he's a solid athlete. And when he was asked to take vertical sets, he did it well for a guy his size. He's got good bounce. And so, like, an elite speed rusher might get to him, but the problem is you have to get all the way around him because if he gets even one arm on you, he can push you wide. The way I phrased it with him is he's a beast who plays with a mean streak. He's maybe an average to slightly above average athlete, but it doesn't matter when you're stronger than everyone else. And so I really like him a lot. He's my favorite guy that I've watched so far. And I'm curious because I've watched Darisaw, and we can talk about him. I like Jenkins quite a bit better than Darisaw, who, depending on who you ask, Darisaw is OT2 or OT3.
Yeah.
And I like him a lot, and I think he might be. It'll be interesting watching Slater and Sewell to see what I think of those guys, because if Jenkins is clearly the third best tackle in this draft, those two must be unbelievable, because he really was very, very good, played well against all competition, and we'll see. There's no sure things, but he's my favorite of who I've watched so far, and it just has to do with power.
I'm glad you mentioned Darisaw, because you're right. I was surprised. So you've got all that on Jenkins, and where, trade up candidate, and if he was there at 31, pretty much everybody, I think, is pretty pleased with that. But you're right, that Darisaw, he's the Virginia Tech tackle, he is pretty consensusly, I think, the number 3 guy for on most boards. I have seen a couple of spots where some people have said, you know what, I'd take Jenkins there. And I think early in the process, I saw a little bit of Darisaw being 2, but I also wasn't paying as close attention as I have been the last month or so, and it seems like it's Sewell, Slater, 1-2 pretty well locked in.
Right.
But if I can spoil your takeaway on Christian Darisaw, you said that if the Chiefs ended up taking him in the second round, you'd be happy. You would not be excited to have him be the guy at 31, and it really looks like he's going to be gone by probably 15 or so.
Yes. And I suppose maybe this just goes to show, and it's worth keeping in mind, I'm going to be as wrong about some of these as, that's just how it is.
Oh, sure. But so just for if not for your clarification for the listeners now, I'm really glad that you're doing it this way, where you're not sort of cross-referencing it before you hit publish, not because like, ooh, look at Seth being edgy and counterculture here, but because that's how it's generally happening in NFL war rooms. Like, there are going to be guys who are, listen, man, I'm interrupting myself to say the Chiefs traded up for Braylon Speaks, all right? And we got, after that draft, we got reports of some GM here or there going, that dude was 50 picks later on our board. There is a variance. So I think it's really valuable to have different people looking at different things through different sets of eyes and then putting it out there without really making sure that they don't look foolish because they underrated Christian Darisaw. I don't think that helps anybody. Anyway,
I agree. And I'm going to end up looking stupid and wrong. And there's people who are better at this than I am. But the thing with draft Twitter, that especially draft Twitter, and Twitter as a medium can be kind of a tough place. Mm-hmm. But one thing that bothers me in particular about NFL draft Twitter is there's a lot of discussion about being original. But when people go outside the kind of established hierarchy of players, there's just a lot of quote tweeting and a lot of dunking and a lot of argument. And I don't like it. It bothers me, which, to be honest, again, Twitter's a tough place. It's a great medium for a lot of things, but it's a tough place for nuanced conversation and disagreement. And so that's one reason I go out of my way. Like, I trust Brandon Thorne a great deal. I trust Ryan Tracy. I trust the Arrowhead Pride guys. I trust Dane Brugler. I trust these guys to do probably a better job than me overall, but I'm also a fresh set of eyes. And if I read their stuff first, then watch a guy, because I trust them, I'm going to be looking for the things that they said.
Right.
And then I'll find them. Right. So I try to come in with fresh eyes. And yeah, Darisaw, I guess, look, I see it. He's 6'5" and 322, and he moves like a smaller guy. He's also got a big punch. He can do some things, but I just wasn't as high on him. I liked Samuel Cosmi better out of Texas. I thought Cosmi was a better athlete, and I thought he overall played stronger, even though he doesn't have as good a footwork. Like, he needs more coaching because he's backpedaling into his pass protection sets, but he can get away with it because he's an unbelievable athlete. Cosmi, someone asked me about Cosmi comparing him to Eric Fisher. Mm-hmm. And in some ways, I think you've got a good comparison there, but I think Cosmi's stronger. At least against college competition. That's the caveat with all this, right?
Right.
But with Darisaw, to stick with that, if the Chiefs drafted him in the first round, I wouldn't throw a fit. I trust Andy Heck, but to me, I think there are better directions that they could go. His effort seemed hit and miss.
Yeah, I just think that's interesting because that's not the conventional thing at this point. But also, he's not going to be there at 31. Like, I would be stunned if that ended up being a choice they had. So I want to talk about Cosmi Because it seems like Samuel Cosme will be there at 31, and it seems like you would be the phrase you use as a first-round pick would be as a flyer. You'd be happy with him in the second round. Talk to me a little bit about the specifics of Cosme.
So with Cosme, he's an awesome athlete, and I think that's kind of made the rounds. He can get out in space. He's very agile. He's the best athlete of the guys I've watched so far. He can get depth in his drops. He beats defenders to spots. He can reach block. He can do anything you want in terms of athleticism. And that's with technique that he really needs to work on. He really needs to work on his slide because, seriously, he backpedals. It's hilarious. But his athleticism, he's got good balance. And so if he gets pushed around a little, he can recover well. His change of direction is really smooth. It's his best trait. That's actually what I wrote. I mean, it's his best trait, his change of direction, smoothness as an athlete. What I really appreciated about him, because, even trying not to pay attention, I've seen some of the things get released in terms of, there's one particular account, and I wish I could remember it right now, where they show like the athleticism kind of matrices of these guys, and Cosme was like the best they've ever seen.
Yeah, I think it was probably the Math Bomb.
Yeah, Math Bomb. Yeah, and he was like a 10 out of 10. It was like the best that they've ever seen in years. The thing that surprised me about him, because when you hear about an athlete, you expect something to be given up in other areas. And I thought his upper body strength was a plus. I thought that he was more powerful than I expected, and he looks like he's able to play catch technique without getting bowled over, even with his technique not being great. But he can tie up defenders pretty well. He can lock them into place at times. His lower body strength is pretty solid as well, and he's got the ability to drive the pile one-on-one. So he was stronger than I expected for a guy that's being touted as an athlete. And so, I mean, the tools are there. So if they took him in the first round, that would, to me, say, Andy Heck looks at this guy and says, the tools are there. I can refine this guy, and he's going to be a very, very good one. So I think the tools are there for him. And like I said, the differentiation between him and Fisher is even in college, Fisher didn't play. Fisher was a tremendous athlete, but he didn't play with a ton of strength.
Yeah.
And I feel like Cosme's a little bit different there. And so he, again, because of where you might be able to get him and all of this stuff in terms of strategy, until I look at all 16 guys that I'm planning on looking at, because, if it turns out when I review, I don't know, Walker Little, who's on the list, or Spencer Brown, who's on the list, or Jackson Carman, who's on the list, and I review in all three of them, and all three of them are guys that I'd be willing to take that guy in the first round. I think he's awesome. Well, then at this point, don't you wait until the second round, and just grab one of the 8 players you're okay with? And so I wouldn't say for sure, but I mean, if they took him in the first round, I wouldn't be upset about that. If he was taken the second, I'd be very, very happy.
Well, and so that I know that I am going to try to get you to give us at least sort of the update with the fact that you won't have a full answer till you get through the full list. But to sort of gloss through a little bit on Leatherwood, who you mentioned earlier, and Liam Eichenberg, we talked about a little bit earlier. Like you said, both of those guys, you know what? If the Chiefs took him in the second, it'd be fine. The difference of Leatherwood maybe ending up making more sense as a guard, and the difference between being kind of lukewarm, being okay with it or whatever. You put those guys kind of in that range, and whatever other specifics you want to give, I'm down for. But that's still what I'm most curious to see as the board comes together, because there's a question, I think, about where these tier cutoffs end up being.
Yep.
And it seems to me like through 6 for you at this point, there's a lot of I'd be fine if that was the guy at 63, which to me is implying that you're hoping that group continues to grow, so one of those guys is more likely to be there at 63. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. And me saying I'd be fine with a guy at 63 is a more polite way of saying I wouldn't draft him in the first round.
Right.
And so, I mean, of the 6 guys I've looked at so far, my least favorite is Alex Leatherwood, who, that doesn't mean I don't like him. I think he's a guy who's got a lot of solid traits. It's just in particular, and I think the best comparison I would make, when the Chiefs grabbed, oh man, I'm going to do this again, Kelechi Osemele.
Really close.
Is it not that it?
Yeah, Colecchio Simile. You just sounded timid that time. I think you actually got it. It was just timid.
Yeah, Assembly. Good Lord. Again, I owe Chris Sims so many apologies. Assembly, one thing that I noted with him is that he doesn't look very good going laterally.
Yeah.
He looks kind of stiff, but sprinting into space, he looks a lot more athletic. Alex Leatherwood, same thing. Moving vertically, and once he's running, he looks pretty athletic, but when he's asked to move side to side, he just looks kind of stiff, like he's not super comfortable bending his knees, and his change of direction can be a struggle there. And so at tackle, that's problematic. At guard, but he's good enough at enough things to where I don't think he's going to be a terrible tackle if that's where people put him. Mm-hmm. It's just maybe not where he's best off, and I certainly wouldn't take a first rounder on him. If they grabbed him in the second round, I would still be like, there's other directions I think you could go. But I think he has the potential to at least be a not bad tackle. And to me, so if you grab someone in the second round, and you and I have talked about draft expectations before, there are not a lot of good tackles in the NFL.
Right.
There are a lot of guys that look like they could be good to above average tackles in this draft. And if you grab a guy in the second round and he plays above average tackle for you for 10 years, that's a win.
Yep.
Frankly, and all due respect to Eric Fisher, that's a win if you take someone first overall.
Yep.
And because above average tackle, fair enough. Even average tackle, you can get by with that. Mm-hmm. You can win with that. And so that's one of my biggest takeaways so far is there are no guys so far that I've looked at where I'm just like, nope, wouldn't draft that dude. I'm assuming I'll get to some, but this is just a very strong offensive line class. And I knew that going in. So that's one of the reasons I've had so much fun looking at them. And this next group that I'm looking at is kind of a more well-known group. And then after that, I'm going to be getting into the Spencer Browns of the world and the Josh Balls of the world. And, where it's not quite as, well-known where they might land. And so maybe I'll get into guys I don't really like then. It's been a lot of fun. There's such a variety in how they win. And so... But you'd asked about guys that I maybe wouldn't take in the second round. But let's say for example, Liam Eichenberg, which I think I'm saying his name right, Eichenberg.
I think you nailed it that time.
It's kind of interesting. It's almost like he was so long looked at as such a sure thing that there's almost backlash against him right now. Mm-hmm. He's the most technically proficient tackle or offensive lineman I've ever looked at in college. He does everything right. He would be in your dream world, Mitch Schwartz comparison.
Yeah.
Because Mitch Schwartz is not a great athlete. And he's not terribly strong. For an offensive lineman, he's much stronger.
On an NFL offensive lineman scale.
He's much stronger than me, but he would be the first to admit that he didn't win through physical dominance. He won by doing everything right all the time, and even doing the little things that no one else does by doing those things correctly, getting every angle right, having every hand placement right, every fake, every movement mattered, having a perfect kick slide because his feet aren't naturally super fast. That's Eichenberg. He's an interesting guy. It's just his ceiling feels limited.
Yeah.
Although it's kind of interesting because most guys you're projecting what they can do against pros, whereas with Eichenberg, it's he's played against the Georgias and the Alabamas and the Clemsons of the world and done pretty well. And so, if they had to, if someone were to, say, all right, we're playing this horrible game where your children's lives are on the line, and one of these people has to start at left tackle for the Chiefs tomorrow, other than Jenkins, if it were literally the guy that I'm the most certain won't be bad, it would be Eichenberg.
Yeah.
Because I think he's going to have a long career doing everything right. Although, and I know people are concerned because I think, he's got, 33-inch arms or whatever. Mm-hmm. He was able to make it work against good players in college. I think he'll be able to in the pros. But he does everything correct. Everything. All the time. It's kind of mechanical watching him work. But and that's the type of guy that you don't hate. If they took him in the second round, I'd say fair enough. I'll take a machine in the second round, even if it's a machine that's not Look, a Dodge Stratus is still a machine.
Right.
It's just not a Ferrari.
All right, so we don't have a lot of time left, but I want to make sure you've got time to stretch out your or this player's 34 3/8 inch arms. I would like for you to talk to me about Stone Forsythe. I need you first to say under oath that this is not about his name, because I was pretty tickled reading what you wrote in the Chief of the North newsletter about Stone Forsythe.
Stone Forsythe, so he's actually a guy that one of the people that I trust most in the world when it comes to offensive line was talking to me about him, and I was kind of lukewarm at first, and he was like, really? Have you looked again? And actually helped me find some stuff to really take a look at, and I said, yeah, I'll take a look. Because when you initially watch Stone Forsythe, which, okay, I will swear this is not just about his name.
Which is also admittedly a great name.
That is a great name.
It's a great name.
So Stone Forsythe is a mammoth of a human. He's 6'8". He weighs 307 is what he's listed in Dane's Beast draft guide, which I would go to my grave assuming is correct about literally everything.
Yeah. I've got it open right now. That's what I'm looking at right now. That's where I got 34 3/8 arms.
I mean, yeah, he's got an incredible wingspan. He's got great upper body strength, and he moves. His feet look slow, but he moves smoothly, and he always seems to get to the right spot. As a pass protector, I think Stone Forsythe, and this works because of his name, I think as a pass protector, he has a really high ceiling, and I think maybe even a decent floor. And so one great thing about him is he ended up with a one-on-one matchup against, and I'm going to forget his name, I don't remember it off the top of my head, against Georgia's defensive end, who's by and large considered probably the best edge rusher in the draft.
Do you want to take a shot at his name, or are you going to make?
I don't remember it right now.
It is Aziz Ojulari. I got it.
I'm glad you did that for me because so. And again, I'm not looking at edge rusher, so I didn't know this at all. I watched those two, and this guy, he's considered probably maybe the best edge rusher in the draft. And him and Forsythe went one-on-one a ton when the two played, and Forsythe dominated that matchup. His arms are so long, and he's got such great width. He's got incredible length and width, Josh. Why
are you saying it like Stewie from
Because it's hard to say width. W-I-D-T-H. And so he's just hard to run around.
Yeah.
And he moves his feet pretty well for a guy his size. In pass protection, he's got good sets. He moves his feet smoothly. I really liked him, and that's really encouraging for me because it just adds depth. I think the Chiefs would be a little crazy to do this, but like if they were to on draft night draft him in the first round at 31, you'd have a lot of people saying reach.
Sure. And
I'd be saying, let's see. Because he was not a particularly good run blocker, which sounds crazy because he's a really big guy, but he just doesn't drive much. It just is not his thing. But I don't really care about that much, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they've grabbed interior guys who are meant to run block well.
Yep.
If he can wall them off, that's all you really need. Your interior guys, you need to pay a little more attention to run blocking. But on the edge, give me pass protection all day. Look, low-key, Mitch Schwartz, one of the best pass-protecting tackles I've ever watched. He was an okay run blocker. He wasn't great. And you don't need to be. Not in the Chiefs' offense because they should really be throwing it about 80% of the time. And I think Stone Forsythe, he's already shown he can shut down NFL-caliber competition. And the physical tools he has, they outstrip anyone, including maybe even Jenkins, just because with his size, you've got that, you give him another couple of years to continue to get stronger. Whereas Jenkins isn't going to grow, 2 extra inches on his arms, I would assume. That'd be weird.
Yeah, it'd be very strange.
And so the tools that he has are extremely impressive. And so I like him a lot. And again, I swear it's not just the name, but that name is awesome. I mean, can you imagine? This is our left tackle, Stone Forsythe. That's...
If I made a D&D character named Stone Forsythe, somebody would tell me to chill. It's too on the nose.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. If I was creating a World of Warcraft character that was a giant dwarf, that was of great strength and bravery, but maybe not the fastest guy in the world, it would be Stone Forsythe. He should have traveled with Frodo to Mordor. Yes. Stone Forsythe would have helped Bilbo collect the Lonely Mountain from Smaug.
And that would have gone so much more smoothly if Stone Forsythe had been there.
Stone Forsythe would never have given in to gold and greed like Thor and Oakenshield. I just watched those movies on HBO Max, so I'm really I've got them on my brain right now.
The Amazon TV show is going to cost like $500 million for that first season. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. I can't remember which age they're doing. You and I could do an entire segment on the Silmarillion and the previous ages of Middle Earth. Well,
I would get out of the way and let you and Beards mostly do that, but
Is he a big fan?
Oh, I mean, listen. You listen. If there's anything you should know about Beards, it's that he's got a take for every fantasy world that's ever been created. We were talking about the Lord of the Rings series quite a bit last week whenever that news came out about how expensive it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And he is by far on this show the one most excited to see it. But maybe now you guys are tied, and then you guys, you know what? Here's what the Chief of the North newsletter needs. It needs a Lord of the Rings TV podcast. You and Beards can start a Lord of the Rings podcast. You want to go Chief in the Lord of the Rings? Do you want to go Lord of the North? You want to go, I don't know, you guys can figure that out. You can workshop that.
Featuring Stone Forsyth.
You can go read what Seth has written about these first 6 prospects up on the Chief of the North newsletter. And another 10 are still coming. Seth, I'm looking forward to talking to you about this next week because as of next week, I'm going to need to know what the Chiefs need to do in the draft. I need a final answer, and I have all the confidence in the world that you'll have a definitive one for us next week.
No pressure.
None at all. Thanks, Seth.
Thanks.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Well, you can. Just search for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcast. This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
I have a DM, no context from Michael, just says, Dick, long pause, justice.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
That's the sound of me hitting a box. Welcome to Almost Entirely Unboxing. So we're doing this segment. We've got a very large, pretty heavy box right here. And I know what it is. It is not just, a gift from a loving listener. It is not gross candy, which many of our unboxing efforts have been.
It's not ranch-flavored soda?
No, it's not ranch-flavored soda.
Oh, good.
No, I think we're all very excited about what is in this particular box. And I'm going to clarify a couple things on the front end for legally, strictly speaking reasons. And I got some very good news. In fact, you know what? I'm going to save it. I'm going to open the box, reveal the contents of the box, give some clarifications, and then continue unpacking the box. Does that work for you guys?
You're the captain of this ship.
Works for me.
Ship, he said. But it would have been right, no matter what that last letter was. Such a good sound.
Yeah.
Such a good sound opening a box. I don't know if I did it very well.
Yeah, well, so what you want to do is like open up this. There you go.
I don't want to poke what's in here.
Yeah, you don't
Do you
have
want me
to
to
go
get the knife
in. You
that's in
just
Jake's office?
just cut the.
No, I don't want you to touch Jake's knife. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
If that gets used in evidence someday, I don't want my DNA anywhere near it. Are you kidding me?
you think he doesn't have your DNA?
All right, I'm opening this box. I probably could have done this part ahead of time, but honestly, I didn't think it was going to take this long.
It's his first time cutting the box open.
It's
he
a
doesn't
very
receive a lot of packages.
This is a very well packed package. If only that ended up having something to. I shouldn't have been afraid about cutting through. There's a bunch of packing paper.
Of course there is.
Because they do a good job at this company.
Who's that, Josh?
Well, I'll tell you in a second, Beards. I'll tell you.
Oh, hang on. I've got music for this.
Oh yeah, go ahead and do the music. I'll tell you in one ding dang second here, Beards.
Emphasis on the ding.
In one big ding dong second, Beards.
Stupid.
One cleavely freshly shaved dong in second, Beards.
Chaotic Warrior asks if it's a taser. You can say it's like a taser.
Manscaped! Your balls will thank you. It's a shirt that I'm going to wear in public. I'm so excited. Here's the truth of the matter, folks. Manscaped is coming on board as a sponsor of Almost Entirely Sports' podcasts. And you would say, well, Josh, this is live over the air. Are they just doing podcasts? We're unboxing it on the radio because this is very exciting. They are a hashtag ad, hashtag sponsor.
Yep.
We were hashtag sent these things.
Yep.
So we could have them and use them to talk about them expertly.
Hashtag.
No payola here. Hashtag ad, hashtag sponsor. And let me tell you this as I unpack this. There's going to be some good moments in here because this is a big package.
Hashtag yes an ad. Hashtag yes a sponsor.
Rudy, you stepped all over the joke.
And also, I'm about to open this box. Support for Almost Entirely Sports, the podcast version, is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. I love this company. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. We have an exclusive offer for listeners of Almost Entirely Sports. Listen, guys, I'm out of the ad again here. This offer bangs, all right? Beards, we're going to go long. We're going to go long this segment.
We're going to go on?
We're going to go long this segment.
Okay.
You get 20% off your order of whatever you pick on Manscaped, manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping with the code ALMOST. I'll tell you this, I'll say one more thing. If you're thinking, man, I've really been interested in checking out Manscaped, first of all, hold on. Rudy, here's your shirt. Beards, here's your shirt. I knocked over the plexiglass. I knocked over the plexiglass in front of me. Nothing spilled, though. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Manscaped.com.
Nothing's fine.
Use the promo code ALMOST. Can I get a standing camera here, Beards? I got to stand up for this.
Yeah, you can.
Go to manscaped.com.
That's Rudy's camera.
Go to manscaped.com and use the promo code ALMOST for 20% off and free shipping. I'll tell you two things. One, this is a legit great deal. 20% off and free shipping is a great deal. Also, it'll help us out if you go and use that code, Beards, I'm up here.
Your eyes are up there?
If you go and use this code on manscaped.com with your order, it's great for us. So go do that, and as the shirts say, your balls will thank you. In fact, Rudy, why don't you go ahead and take this whole box and go give one to Beards?
You don't want to throw it at him?
No.
You don't want to try that again?
These are 3 perfectly packaged packages, and I think they're all going to be the same.
Well, thank you for not throwing that, Rudy.
Rudy, there's yours.
I don't have glass to protect me in here.
I wanted to hit that glass and make a joke, and instead I did a bad
I know what
thing.
you were trying to do.
We got it.
Yeah, we got it. Oh, look, this is.
Oh, there's Beards' shirt. Let's open this package.
Heck yeah.
Oh. I thought I was going to have to cut something open.
Nope. Oh,
I don't.
oh, look at this. Oh. Look at how good this looks. Beards, give me a zoom. Zoom in on my package.
Why don't more, like, boxes, like, come like this?
Because more places aren't Manscaped.
Great box. I'm a big fan
This
of a good
is
box.
incredible. If you're not on the video feed, I'll tweet out the video
Oh,
later.
boy.
Oh, boy, howdy. Oh, hold on. Guys, I got some bad news. Let me check this out. Nope, I thought I might have Beards' underwear, but I actually just have mine.
Oh, good.
What size underwear you guys again? I got to ask Beards and Rudy what size their underwear were.
I think we're all large.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I mean, I don't know about you.
I got an
but-
XL booty. And no, I'm not afraid. I got an extra large booty.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to put these on right now.
I'm going to break the mark button this thing.
Nice
So here's the package we've got.
I'm a big fan of a good package.
Let me read this. This is beautiful. This is embossed. This is, God, I love
Yeah.
this company already.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm opening
They
right
know
now.
what's important, and they're not skimping out.
You can use the code ALMOST for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com.
This is a big box.
I've got the Crop Preserver Anti-Chafing Ball Deodorant right here. Let me smell this. Hold on. Let me smell this right now.
Whoa. It's ready to go.
Oh, it smells so nice.
Batteries do not need to be put in. You know why? It's ready.
Because Manscaped, baby. Buzz it. Buzz it in the
ready.
microphone right now. It's got an LED light.
Yeah, because you need to be able to see. You need to be able to see what's going on down there.
You got to be able to see what's going on. You got to make sure you're not accidentally. You want to cut exactly what you mean to and nothing else.
Exactly.
I mean,
Sound.
come on. It feels great.
Good sound.
This is such a good. They're just such a good company.
So, can I say something?
Yeah, what size? Did you get the right size underwear?
I believe so. Yeah.
Hold on. So I got this. We've all got the anti-chafing ball deodorant crop preserver. There is the crop reviver. It is a ball toner. We can say all this on the radio, right? It's all FCC
Yes.
free.
Yeah,
And then the
yeah,
beautiful
yeah,
lawnmower
yeah,
3.0. Let's get mowing. It does say charge your trimmer before first use. There's a little extra heat in here so we could buzz it, for the into the microphone. But don't forget to charge it.
Oh boy, there's more underneath.
There's a whole. What's in the sack? What is? Oh, I got the charger and like little guards and there's a little dock.
Yeah.
In the
It's a
little sack. There's
you pull
more
it, yeah.
under
Oh,
the thing.
Yes, there is.
This is like testicular
There's more.
Christmas.
And a newspaper.
Oh, man.
Headline.
Look at this.
Headline. We save balls.
It's on the.
News here.
It's a
The Manscaped Daily News. You
It's-
see? This is an accent I did not know I had. I didn't know I had this impression of me. We save balls.
Obituaries on the back.
The urchin's going to come running out here in a second, I swear.
I believe this is for crop catching.
R.I.P. Billy Pierce.
Holy
And
smokes.
Gerardo Perkins.
It shows you how to handle it the best way possible. And also, look at this
That's
bag.
a beautiful bag.
All of this can be yours if you go to manscaped.com and use the promo code ALMOST.
Well, that's
Again-
real leather.
Oh, that's nice.
Good
Listen,
stuff.
go to manscaped.com and use the code ALMOST. It's got zippers
There-
inside the
that's what I was
zipper.
going to say. There are zippers inside the zippers.
Listen, I wouldn't say this
Some
if I didn't
pouches?
believe it already, and I'm gonna have to we're gonna get some real reviews in
Nice.
here soon. I'm gonna be aerodynamic by the end of this week.
By
But
the show.
I'm telling you that every single thing in here is so well done. The packaging is so good.
Yep. I'm a big package guy. Need a good package.
Listen, man, if you don't have a good package, what do you have? Manscaped.com, use the promo code
You have
ALMOST
nothing. That's what you have.
for 20% off and free shipping.
Nothing.
Man, these undies look lovely.
They do.
What were you gonna say, Beards?
I didn't tell you guys this.
Shocker.
This actually gets to replace the one I currently have.
You already are a Manscaped customer?
I had a 2.0.
I loved not knowing that, but I
Yeah.
love even more knowing that you got this one. Yeah, I mean, I loved never having to think about that,
You're welcome.
but
I mean, this really upgrades my game. I've been using an old one. Not a Manscaped one, just an old, old razor.
you guys see this pair of scissors? Ask me what I've been using. I'm a mess down there. I look like Deadpool.
You know Todd Sweeney?
Sweeney Todd?
Sweeney Todd. Todd
You
Sweeney.
did love
Josh, don't curse, please.
I knew it was Sweeney Todd. I just, messed up.
I'm really excited about this.
Yeah. Very
Chaotic
nice.
Warrior on Twitch is saying the underwear is great. Thrilled about all of this. This is all just very exciting. I'll tell you one more time. They'll start being our sponsor on the podcast starting tomorrow officially. But this is great. This is great, and they've been great to work with up to this point. I'm excited to work with their product, as apparently Beards has been doing secretly for years. And the
Any
show's
other
over. We gotta
secrets
go.
you want to tell us, Beards?
What was that, Rudy?
Is there any other secrets you have for us, Beards?
Not that I can think of at the moment. Or anything you need to know.
You engaged or anything?
So anyway, I'll say this one more time, and then you can hear more details in the podcast in the days to come. But I'm very impressed by all of this from Manscaped, and you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code ALMOST at manscaped.com. So thank you, Manscaped, for reaching out and making this happen. I'm really excited to see where this goes. Well, I know where it's going to go.
Never going to get rid of this package. It's a beautiful box. I can put all kinds of knickknacks in here.
It's seriously, I think right now this may be the most impressive package I've ever seen.
Maybe.
And also everything Manscaped sent was really great. Thanks to Seth Keysor. And, I'm sorry, Mom, that you were here for this segment, but bye, Mom, anyway. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.